Welcome to the Beauty of Better podcast, where we help moms thrive in health and faith.
We're excited to have you back at the Beauty of Better podcast. I'm Danielle. I'm here with our co-founders. And, this episode today, we just wanted to start with a foundation of really what you can expect from our podcast moving forward. And there's really 6 categories we feel like every podcast will touch on. It will either be about life balance, community and connection, movement, nutrition, science, or spiritual integration. And we're going to unpack those a little bit today to just tell you why we feel like those are important foundations for us and how we can really all learn from them together and learn from our experiences and grow to becoming better together. So we're going to start with life balance. We're working moms. We have a lot on our plates. And it's hard to find that balance. And sometimes balance isn't the right word, but just a new rhythm. New seasons come with new rhythms. And we're going to have episodes that talk about scheduling and goals as a family and how do you make goals for yourself. And just really try to dive into those topics a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that we should keep in mind too with the word balance is I think when I first heard that word as a mom, I was like, oh, okay, that just means I have like a really good division of every single thing that I want to do every single day. But I don't feel like that's what it is, actually. It's just more of when I look at a week, like how am I fitting in exercise and how am I fitting in like time to cook meals at home and then time with my family and time in the Bible and like how does that look from day to day? Not necessarily like all of those things get an equal amount of time or necessarily happen every single day, but that's just something that stands out to me with that word. So
yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I think something just to add to that too, since we have a spectrum of ages of our kids, and I'm sure our listeners do as well, that really we have seasons too within our parenthood. So like what balance looks like in the younger years is different in the teen years or the middle years, or maybe even when they're outside of the home. And so we'll get to share from a depth of resources and experiences from the science-based as well as spiritual to give you some tips, tricks, tools to navigate what balance looks like and how to grow in that. So the goal is growth and balance, not necessarily perfection in that balance.
I think in realizing too that in seasons of life, like it looks so different. What was possible in one season, maybe being able to go to the gym regularly, it sometimes has to ebb and flow and shift and finding what works for our family, for us, for this season, and being okay at sometimes to need to prune things out of our lives that maybe aren't fitting for that season, and it's going to decrease our stress and add to our wellness, or maybe as the kids get older, it's like, okay, I do have a little bit more time. How can I then make space so that I can maybe get out and get a walk in nature, or something that will help, boost your own energy again. And so realizing that what works for one season doesn't always work in the next season, and being able to be flexible for those changes.
Yeah, I love all those. I actually feel like as we're talking, I don't even think I want to call it balance anymore. I think I want to call it rhythms. Because I do think that you had such a good point of like balance. You picture almost like a balance beam where like everything's equal and it can't fall. And it's like, no, I think life has just these rhythms that we go through, and some are super full and some are more empty. And in different seasons, we need to give time to different things. So maybe we'll call it life rhythms instead of life balance.
Yeah.
The next topic we'll go through in our podcast is community and connection. I just believe that, and it's biblical, that we're not meant to live in loneliness. We're not meant to live alone. And I think that we all have hearts to help moms connect, to help moms do life together, to help moms learn from each other and grow together. And I just feel like it's going to be a great one.
Yeah. I just want to speak into that real quick. That's been something that I've been challenged in more, is because we have a tendency, I think, to think that, oh, I'm just going to be strong on my own and just figure it out. And I know there's been days like, when my kids are so young that it's just hard, right? It's like challenging. You're shaping them, you're helping, teach them, instruct them. And it can get really lonely because the days can be long, especially when your kids are little. And so learning how to get outside of yourself and say, I actually need to call another mom friend. Right? We need to get outside, get our kids to the park. Like sometimes we need to lay down our own pride to say, what, I actually do need help. Like I don't have it all together. And can you come alongside me and support me today? That's something that I've really had to learn and like grow in. And it's been so life-giving because you do, you don't feel isolated and alone. And it can just help get you outside of your head too when you're getting worked up about like, oh, am I enough? Am I doing enough for my kids? Surrounding ourselves with other moms can just be so helpful in that way.
Yeah, and I think along with community, we think there's so many layers to that. You have your core family who you share a home with, and you have extended family, you have coworkers, you have people in church community, people you might exercise with, and neighbors. And what does community look like in those seasons? So we'll have several different times where we talk about all the different circles of community and how to be intentional investing and how that really brings strength through having those bonds with one another.
Yeah, Kathleen, I know you were talking about growth in that for yourself, but I feel like you've helped me grow in that. And even thinking of this season, like I had an impossible day where I was like, I physically can't do this. Like, I don't know how to make this work. And one of my kids is homeschooled. And Kathleen, you just took him. Like, you took him one day a week, and it just changed everything for me. And it was like opening up to that community to realize I can't do this by myself. And so you made space for me to do that too. So thank you.
Yay. So glad to do that, right? Moms supporting moms. We get
I
it.
love that. Oh. Our next topic is movement, and we were very intentional about this word because we're not just going to talk about exercise or physical activity or steps, but we're just talking about how do we move our bodies. We're not meant to be sedentary people, and it looks different in different seasons, and I'm going to let some of our fitness people jump in on this.
I'll jump in here. So I think this one's just a really big one for me. It's the reason why I started my other business after going through my first pregnancy and not really being able to find like a comprehensive evidence-based program that was like, here's some things that you can do in the gym. Here's nutritional considerations that you might want to think about. Here's lifestyle changes that you should consider. That's really what prompted me to make an online course so that it could be accessible for moms who are pregnant, especially first-time moms, because that's just a whole unique experience in itself, being a first-time mom, I think. And wanting to learn everything and know everything and do the best you can to keep your baby safe and healthy. And so I think learning how to implement that in a way that works for you is really, really, really important. So like my husband and I have a gym in our garage, and that really works well for us in this season with little kids. Most of the time that I'm out there, they are with me, or at least one of them is with me. So while I do love exercising alone, I'm not like a big group exercise person. A lot of the movement that I do that's intentional happens with my kids right now. And I think that's a cool opportunity, right? Like I get to model that piece and show them like, this is important. Mom and dad take time to do this. And it just imprints hopefully, and they'll hopefully grow up wanting to do it too. But I love love getting people to move more and just get outside the box of thinking like it has to be an hour, it has to be perfect, it has to be ideal conditions all the time. I have to have 8 hours of sleep if I'm going to do it. Like you don't have to. It could be 10 minutes. It could be it could be 20 minutes. Maybe it's you going on a walk with your kids if that's all the energy you've got that day, or maybe you do more things with your body weight, or maybe it is a harder lift day if you're there, but it does not have to be perfect to be good. So that's something that I think I've learned as a mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely agree with that. I think one thing I would just add as well is that when we think about it, we're all at different stages with how much movement we have or don't have. And so it's kind of starting at where you're at. That whole beauty of being better is like, where is that movement and what would be an improved goal for that? And I think there's different things people enjoy. So there's so many movement options that will be fun to unpack together as well.
That's so good. Our other topic is nutrition and just really looking at what we put in our bodies. We're going to go deep with that one too, but I'm going to pass it off to Kathleen because I know she loves this one.
Yes, I do. Yes. When people hear the word nutrition, I feel like especially like Southern California, you instantly get people's attention. They're like, "What? Yes, what?" And they're like are expecting like the latest fad diet or something for you to speak into those kind of things. And then oftentimes I talk to people about, where does your fear lie? And as a Christian, our fear, like what we give our attention to, what we give our reverence to, should always be God. And, oftentimes there is fear surrounding food. Should I eat this? Should I not eat this? And it can become all consuming. And, personally for me, when it comes to nutrition, at times I've asked the Lord, like, Lord, am I really like passionate about this? Because I'm not an extremist in any way. I've never done a fad diet. I didn't do the celery juice thing. I didn't, all the things like I haven't done. And so people are sometimes surprised by that. They're like, "What? Do you eat sugar?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do. And I enjoy it." Not all the time, within balance, but realizing that like God cares about every area of our life. He cares about what we put into our body. He relates himself to food as bread and as wine because food, it makes up our being. It affects every molecule of our body. So it's something that God cares about, that he wants to bring freedom to. And so oftentimes I encourage people, I was like, have you invited like Jesus into the conversation? Have you said, Jesus, would you come help me know how to nourish my body? Would you heal me from maybe mindsets I've had or ways that I've spoken negatively against myself when it comes to food and body image and all of that? And just by inviting him into the conversation, God says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And I feel like it can feel that way with nutrition. Definitely in today's culture, when you talk about nutrition, the word that comes to my mind is confusion. And, people just don't know. And there's a lot of information out there, and some people will take their personal experience as gospel. And that's where it comes in the importance of scientific evidence-based nutritional guidance. I was explaining this the other day to the ladies, just in this day and age, a lot of people there's the kind of sayings that say like, live your truth, or like, what is your truth? And, God gave us the Bible, his word, because he knew there would come a time when people would just think that their truth was truth and that real truth didn't actually exist. And so, it's important that we have written down foundational truth to teach us like, no, this is right, this is not okay. And so that's, to me, that just gives evidence to the importance of trusting scientific evidence-based nutritional guidance. So, we're going to be having more talks on that, which I'm really looking forward to. But, you know, we will also bring in personal experience and also ways that maybe God is leading and guiding us in our nutrition journeys. But just first and foremost, making him part of the conversation is just so important. You know, he is the one who brings freedom and brings life. And so I'm just so excited. I feel like God's going to bring some freedom to women as you're listening to our conversations on these topics with nutrition. And so just really looking forward to that.
So good. I love that. I feel like that just kind of encapsulated what we're going into with our last two topics, which I feel like really underline almost everything that we do, which is the next one is science, and after that is spiritual. And I think we all have such a love for science, and we're trained in science, and we conduct research, and we're in that world, but we're in the church world too. And we can even talk about these two categories together because I feel like we all value evidence-based methods. We all understand research methodology and design and data collection and analysis and really interpretation, which I feel like the world gets wrong a lot. But I feel like we value evidence-based practices, whether it's in nutrition or movement, and stress management, but we also value ultimately what the Bible says, right? And I feel like the Bible talks about all of these topics. It's so fascinating to me. And I just feel like I see science and faith merged. Like to me, when I learn more about science, I'm like, it deepens my faith. And I'm just like, I feel like sometimes the church world doesn't see that. And I feel like, especially I can speak to working in public health, I feel like sometimes the church and public health or science are opposing to each other. But I feel like with the four of us, like in our backgrounds, that we really see them as so integrated and so complementary. And I'm excited for us to just bring that foundation in all that we talk about.
I think the integration of all of our core concepts, like with this foundation of spiritual and science, is what's made me so passionate about what Beauty and Better can be and how it's so different than other things that are out there. Because it's not just popular opinion, you know, so it takes a while to get things into the literature and analyze and have data, but also sit with the Holy Spirit and have wisdom and discernment over what you're going to step into and out of, whether it's one or multiple of those goals. So I think that's definitely where I'm so excited about the potential that this has to make large impacts and even small impacts, because we celebrate both with the Beauty of Better.
Yeah, I feel even excited just for our team. And I feel like we continually learn from each other. And I just hope that our podcast just help bring this alive to other moms as well. So thank you guys for joining us today. And we can't wait to dive into these topics even more with you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Beauty of Better podcast.
If you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe.
Connect with our community and check out other resources on our website at beautyofbetter.com.
We hope this podcast helped you take the next small step to find the beauty in becoming better.